The first time I saw their sky burn, I thought it was beautiful. That was my first mistake. I had been drifting at the edge of the Cathay system for nearly 3 days, my salvaged ship wayfarer's debt running on fumes and stubborn hope. The Cathay weren't exactly known for welcoming outsiders, but their world, Velis Prime, was rich with abandoned orbital stations. War relics, mostly. Good money if you knew where to look. I didn't expect to find a dying civilization. The planet hung beneath me, like a jewel cracked down the middle. Massive fissures glowed across its surface, bleeding molten light into the atmosphere. Above it, orbital defense platforms flickered weakly, firing sporadically into empty space. No enemy fleet. No visible threat. Just collapse. Ship AI, I muttered, leaning forward in my seat. Give me a scan. A soft chime answered. Planetary tectonic destabilization at 92% critical threshold. Core integrity failure imminent. Estimated planetary lifespan, 11 hours, 32 minutes. I stared at the screen. Cause? Unknown. However, data suggests artificial origin. Of course it was. It's always artificial. I should have turned around. Any sane pilot would have. Salvagers like me didn't get involved in planetary disasters. We scavenged what came after. But as I adjusted my trajectory to leave, something caught my eye. A signal. Weak. Fragmented. Desperate. A distress call. The Cathay language wasn't one I spoke fluently, but the AI handled translation. To any who receive, planetary collapse, evacuation impossible, requesting intervention, by authority of Galactic Accord Clause 17, any capable vessel is authorized to act. I frowned. Clause 17? Galactic Emergency Intervention Mandate. The AI replied. Any individual who successfully prevents a planetary extinction-level event becomes a legally recognized protector under Galactic Law. Protector? I snorted. Sounds fancy. Also sounds like a fast way to get yourself killed. The transmission crackled again. Please, anyone. I sighed. I hate that part of myself. The part that listens. Fine, I muttered, pulling the controls toward me. Let's see what we're dealing with. Getting through their orbital defenses was the first challenge. The platforms were still active but erratic, firing at anything that moved. I had to weave between bursts of plasma fire, hugging the planet's gravity well to slip beneath their targeting arcs. Remind me, I said as another blast scorched past the hull, why I'm doing this again? Because you chose to respond to the distress signal, the AI replied calmly. Yeah. Next time, remind me to ignore my conscience. You have ignored it before. Not helping. I broke through the final defensive layer and plunged into the atmosphere. That's when I saw the true scale of it. Entire continents were splitting apart. Cities clung to crumbling land masses, their structures collapsing into glowing chasms. The sky itself seemed to ripple with instability, lightning arcing in unnatural patterns. And yet there were ships, thousands of them, trying to lift off, only to be dragged back down by gravitational anomalies. Others hovered helplessly, their engines overwhelmed by the chaos. They weren't going to make it. No evacuation could save them, which meant if I was going to do anything, it had to be the impossible. I needed to stop a planet from dying. AI, I said, my voice tighter than I liked. What would it take to stabilize a planetary core? There was a pause. Then, theoretically, a counter-resonance energy pulse could restore equilibrium to the core's oscillation. English. Something broke the planet's core. If you can match the frequency of that disruption and counter it, you might stop the collapse. Might. Yes. And how do I generate a pulse like that? Your ship cannot. I exhaled slowly. Of course it can't. However, the AI continued, there is a cathary structure beneath the surface, likely a planetary energy regulator. If it is still intact, it could be used to generate the necessary pulse. Coordinates. A map flickered onto my screen. The structure was deep, miles beneath the surface, right in the middle of one of the largest fissures. I stared at it. You're telling me, I said carefully, that I need to fly into a collapsing crack in the planet land and somehow fix an alien machine I don't understand before the whole world explodes. Yes. I leaned back in my chair. Great. The descent was hell. The fissure wasn't just a crack. It was a canyon of molten rock and shifting gravity. My ship was tossed around like a toy, alarms blaring as the hull temperature spiked. Shields at 60%, the AI warned. Keep them up, I snapped, fighting the controls. We're not done yet. At the bottom of the fissure, I finally saw it. A structure. Massive. Ancient. Still glowing with faint, pulsing energy. The Cathari had built something extraordinary, and whatever had broken their planet had targeted it first. Landing zone, I asked. Minimal stable surface detected. Recommend immediate descent. I didn't argue. The Wayfarer's deck slammed onto the rocky ledge with a jolt that rattled my bones. I barely waited for the engines to cool before grabbing my suit and heading out. The heat hit me like a wall. Even through the suit, I could feel it, an oppressive, suffocating force. The air shimmered, distorting everything. Guide me, I said. Straight ahead. Entrance is 50 meters. 50 meters of hell. I ran. Inside, the temperature dropped instantly. The structure was intact, mostly. Alien architecture stretched around me. Smooth metallic surfaces etched with glowing symbols. At the center of it all was a massive core, cracked, sparking, unstable. That's our problem, I muttered. Correct, the AI said. The regulator has been sabotaged. It is emitting a destabilizing frequency into the planetary core. So, we just fix it? Not exactly. You must override it and generate a counterfrequency. And how do I do that? There was a brief pause. Manual interface required. I stared at the core. You mean I have to touch it? Yes. Fantastic. The closer I got, the worse it felt. The air vibrated with energy, my suit systems struggling to compensate. Every instinct screamed at me to stay back. But I kept going, because out there, on that broken world, real people were dying. And somehow, against all logic, I had become their only chance. I reached the core and placed my hand against its surface. Pain exploded through me. Not physical, not entirely. It was like my mind was being torn apart, flooded with alien data, incomprehensible signals. AI. I gasped. Hold on, it said. I am translating the interface. Do it faster. The symbols around me shifted, aligning into something I could almost understand. Frequency mismatch detected, the AI said. You must input a corrective pattern. I don't know their patterns. Then remember this, the AI said quietly. All energy systems follow balance. Find the disruption and mirror it. I gritted my teeth, forcing my mind to focus. The chaos had a rhythm. A broken one, but a rhythm nonetheless. And if I could feel it, I could answer it. Slowly, painfully, I adjusted the controls, shifting the frequency, matching the instability, and then pushing against it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the world went silent. The core pulsed. Once. Twice. And then it stabilized. The violent energy around me faded, replaced by a steady, controlled remember. Planetary core stabilizing, the AI said. Tectonic activity decreasing. You have succeeded. I slumped against the console, breath shaking. We did it. Yes. I laughed weakly. Guess I'm a protector now. You are, the AI said. And that's when everything changed. The Cathari found me within the hour. Not soldiers. Not officials. Civilians. Dozens of them, descending into the fissure in small transport craft, their movements cautious but determined. They were beautiful in a way I hadn't expected. Tall, slender, with an almost crystalline quality to their skin. Their eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the stabilized light of their world. They approached slowly, and then, one by one, they knelt. I blinked. What are you doing? The one closest to me looked up, her voice soft but unwavering. You saved us, she said. By the laws of the Galactic Accord, you are now our protector. Yeah, about that. Our lives are bound to yours, she continued. I froze. What? It is the law, she said simply. They explained it to me. Clause 17. I had heard the words before, but I'd never paid attention to the details. Turns out I should have. Under Galactic Law, any individual who saves a civilization from extinction becomes its designated protector, and the people of that civilization become bound to them, not as slaves, not as property, but as something else, a responsibility, a connection, a bond. You mean, I said slowly, that all of you are tied to me now? Yes, she said. How many is all of you? She tilted her head slightly. Approximately 4.2 billion. I nearly choked. 4 billion. The days that followed were overwhelming. The Cathari rebuilt quickly. Their technology, once stabilized, allowed them to repair their world at a pace I couldn't have imagined. And everywhere I went, they followed. Not in a suffocating way. Not exactly. But there was always someone nearby. Watching. Listening. Ready. You don't have to do that. I told them more than once. We do, they always replied. It is our duty. I didn't want duty. I didn't want billions of lives depending on me. I was just a salvager. A nobody. But to them, I was everything. It took me a while to understand what the bond really meant. It wasn't about control. It wasn't about power. It was about trust. They believed in me. Completely. Unconditionally. And that was terrifying. Because I had never had that before. Weeks later, as I prepared to leave Velis Prime, the same woman who had first spoken to me approached. Will you return? She asked. I looked at the restored horizon. The once broken world now whole again. I don't know, I admitted. You are our protector, she said. Yeah, I said softly. I guess I am. She smiled faintly. Then wherever you go, we will stand with you. I hesitated. Then I nodded. All right, I said. But we do this my way. And what is that? I grinned. We don't act like I'm above you. She considered that. Then slowly, she stood. No, she said. We stand beside you. The first sign came 3 days after I left the system. I was halfway through recalibrating my ship's drive when the AI spoke again. Multiple incoming transmissions, it said. From Velis? I asked. No. From external sources. Galactic channels. Priority flag. I frowned. Put them through. The cockpit filled with overlapping signals, formal, precise, and far too official for my liking. By authority of the Galactic Accord. Recognition of protector status. Summons to council. I groaned. Oh no. Yes, the AI confirmed. You have been officially acknowledged. That sounds bad. It is significant. I slumped back in my chair. I just saved a planet. Why does that feel like the easy part? The first test. They didn't wait long to come find me. A fleet dropped out of hyperspace around my ship, sleek, polished vessels bearing the insignia of the Galactic Council. I didn't even try to run. Unidentified human vessel. A voice echoed through my comms, calm but firm. You are to power down your engines and prepare for escort. I raised an eyebrow. Escort? You are now a recognized protector. Your presence is required. Required, I muttered. Not optional. Correct. I sighed. Figures. The Council of Many Worlds. The council chamber was overwhelming. Hundreds of representatives, each from a different species, filled the massive hall. Some were towering, others barely visible, some made of light, others of something I couldn't even identify. And at the center of it all, me. A salvager in a worn jacket, standing where emperors and warlords probably once stood. This is a mistake, I muttered under my breath. It is not, my AI replied softly through my implant. A voice boomed across the chamber. Human, you stand before the Galactic Council as a recognized protector under Clause 17. I raised a hand slightly. Yeah, about that. Can we maybe not make a big deal out of it? A ripple moved through the chamber, something between confusion and amusement. You misunderstand, another voice said. This is already a very large deal. The truth about protectors. They explained it to me. Not the legal version. The real one. Protectors weren't just rare. They were almost non-existent. Most extinction events stayed that way. Those who tried to intervene usually failed. Those who succeeded changed everything. You now hold influence over the Ketheri civilization, one counselor said. I don't hold anything, I replied. They're not mine. That distinction, another said carefully, is precisely why this is concerning. I frowned. Concerning. Power without desire for control is unpredictable. I let out a short laugh. So, you're worried because I'm not trying to rule billions of people? Yes. Wow. The real threat emerges. That's when they showed me the truth. The sabotage. Velis Prime hadn't been a random disaster. It had been targeted. A demonstration. A test. A message. Unknown forces have begun destabilizing key worlds, the Council revealed. Velis Prime was the first confirmed attempt. First, I repeated. You're telling me more are coming? We believe so. And you didn't stop it? We could not. I clenched my jaw. But I did. Yes, one of them said, watching me closely. You did. And suddenly, I understood why I was there. A choice I never wanted. We request your assistance, the council said. I shook my head immediately. No. The chamber fell silent. I'm not a soldier, I continued. I'm not a hero. I got lucky. You did not get lucky, one counselor replied. You acted. And it worked, another added. Where we failed. I crossed my arms. That doesn't make me your weapon. No, the first voice said. It makes you something far more dangerous. They came for my world. I didn't give them an answer. Not right away. I left the council chamber with more questions than I had entered with. But the galaxy didn't wait for me to decide. Because while I was still trying to figure things out, the enemy made their move again. This time, they didn't target some distant alien world. They targeted mine. Earth. The moment everything changed. I was in hyperspace when the alert came. Not from the council. Not from my AI. From the Ketheri. A direct transmission. Urgent. Fearful. Protector. The woman's voice came through, strained in a way I had never heard before. We have detected a destabilization event in your home system. My blood ran cold. Earth. Yes. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Images flashed through my mind, Cities, oceans, people living their lives, completely unaware of what was coming. Just like the Ketheri had been. No, I whispered. Analysis confirms the same pattern as Velis Prime, she continued. Your world has been marked. That was it. That was the moment. The moment the choice stopped being a choice. The protector rises. I said, my voice steady now. Yes. Plot a course for Earth. Already done. I opened a channel. Velis Prime, I said. This is your protector. There was no hesitation in the response. We are here. I'm going to need help. You have it. How many ships can you send? The answer came without pause. All of them. The fleet that followed. When I dropped out of hyperspace near Earth, I wasn't alone. Behind me stretched a fleet unlike anything I had ever seen. Thousands of Ketheri vessels, their forms gleaming like living crystal, moving in perfect unity. They hadn't come because they were ordered. They hadn't come because they were obligated. They had come because they chose to. For me, for the one who had saved them. And now, for the world that had made me. The battle for a living world. Earth was already beginning to break. Gravitational distortions twisted the atmosphere. Satellites fell from orbit. The planet's core, just like Velis Prime, was being forced into instability. But this time, we were ready. Identify the source, I ordered. Multiple devices detected. My AI responded. They are embedded across the planet's core layers. Can we reach them? Not individually. I clench my fists. Then we do it the hard way. Just like before. But bigger. Much bigger. Humanity's strength. As I prepared to descend, a new signal appeared. Human. Military. Civilian. All of it. Unidentified fleet. A voice came through. Sharp and determined. State your intentions. I smiled slightly. About time, I muttered. Then I opened the channel. My name is irrelevant, I said. But I'm here to save your world. There was a pause. Then, we'll help. No hesitation. No fear. Just action. And, in that moment, I understood what the galaxy had feared all along. Not our weapons. Not our technology. But this. The way we stand together when it matters most. The final pulse. The plan was insane. It required perfect timing, absolute coordination, and more energy than my ship, or even the Ketheri fleet, should have been able to produce. But we weren't alone. Human systems. Ketheri technology. Working together. For one purpose. Balance. Frequency locked, the AI said. Stabilizers ready. Came the Ketheri response. Energy grid synchronized, echoed human command. I took a breath. Then let's do this. I reached out, not just to the system, but to them. All of them. Billions of Ketheri. Billions of humans. Connected by something I still didn't fully understand. But I felt it. That bond. That trust. That unity. And I used it. The galaxy watches. The pulse hit Earth's core like a heartbeat. For a moment, everything stopped. Then, the chaos reversed. The fractures sealed. The distortions vanished. The planet stabilized. We had done it. Again. A new law of the galaxy. Back at the council, the silence was different this time. Not skeptical. Not cautious. Respectful. You have done what no one else could. One counselor said. Twice, another added. I shook my head. Not alone. No, they agreed. Not alone. There was a pause. Then, the galaxy must change. The ending that wasn't an ending. I didn't become a ruler. I didn't take power. I didn't sit on some throne with billions at my command. That was never who I was. Instead, I became something else. A bridge. Between worlds. Between species. Between fear and understanding. The Cathari still called me protector.
But now,
They weren't the only ones. Final words. Sometimes I think back to that moment. The one where I almost turned away. Where I almost ignored the signal. If I had, an entire world would be gone. Maybe two. Maybe more. But I didn't. And now, the galaxy is different. Not because of me, but because of what we proved. That even in a universe full of fear, there is something stronger. Something worth believing in. Something that binds us all. Not by law,
but by choice.